What's up, what's going on, legends? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking Black Ops 6 Zombies, and I want to specifically talk about a podcast that was released today on the official Call of Duty channel called the COD Pod. This was episode 3 and did give us some information in regards to changes we can expect for Liberty Falls from the time we saw it at Call of Duty Next and us going into launch, and some possible HUD changes that they might be implementing also going into launch. We can also expect 2 brand new Kevin Sherwood Easter egg songs to be available, one on both of each of the launch maps. And I think overall, the community is extremely excited about everything that we heard today. But this video is more focused on trying to bring the community back to reality because I want us to hold our expectations in a realistic manner. I know everybody's kind of excited saying, you know, they heard us. We complained about the HUD. Look, they're changing the HUD. Look, we complained about the atmosphere on Liberty Falls. Look, they're changing Liberty Falls. I just don't think it's all quite that simple. So in regards to Liberty Falls, they did specifically say that the version we saw during Call of Duty Next was a work in progress. Now, this is kind of surprising for me to hear. I kind of feel like if it was a work in progress, they probably wouldn't have allowed us to see it early, or at least at this point, they probably really regret allowing us to see it early. But I think this was kind of one of those L's that they took over at Treyarch by simply setting us up for failure. If it wasn't exactly what we were to expect on launch, I feel like it could set false expectations, which it probably did. Meaning a lot of people were complaining about the atmosphere of the map. It's not dark enough, it takes place too much in the daylight, it just doesn't have the atmosphere that a normal Zombies experience map would have. Therefore, people didn't feel like it felt like a Zombies map. I have now since addressed this, mentioning that there has been some changes for Liberty Falls heading into launch. Since they were in a work in progress, they've been able to continue to iterate on the map that they had, alongside the fact that when the Liberty Falls map was played during Call of Duty Next, none of the Easter egg features were enabled at all, so it's more than likely some of the features that would give it that darker, more moodier feel that they're going for could have been tied to that Easter egg. So they said going into launch, we can expect a little bit of a change to the atmosphere of Liberty Falls, especially with the addition to the Easter eggs, and it will give off a much moodier feel. I think this gassed up the community into feeling like we were actually heard when it came to the atmosphere of Liberty Falls, but we don't actually know for sure what these changes are going to be, which I think is very important to focus on, alongside the fact that we don't know what the initial plans were. So we don't know if Call of Duty Next initialized them to go back to the drawing board and make some changes that would make the community overall a little bit more happy, or these were already in the plans for them to implement, but just during Call of Duty Next, in the build that they were working off of, it just didn't have access to all of the map. So as much as I would like to give us as the Call of Duty and Zombies community credit for making those changes, I don't know that we can absolutely take credit for that, or even say it's in response to the feedback or backlash that they saw in regards to Call of Duty Next. So although the changes do sound positive because there is some sort of change happening, we don't exactly know what those changes entail, and we won't know till we get closer to launch. So it's really hard for me to understand how people could go and say, you know what, they listened to us, they made the changes that we asked for, it's going to be exactly like we expected, because we don't know what to expect. All we know is that when we saw that Call of Duty Next, it wasn't the map that the Zombies community felt like it should be, and we voiced our concerns during that time, and changes have been made since then. We don't know, again, if those changes were expected. We don't know if they would have made those changes regardless of us giving our feedback. So there's no way to know for sure if that's 100% in response to community feedback. The other thing that they did touch on during this was in regards to the HUD. Now we know when it comes to Black Ops 6, there's going to be some presets that are available. And I think the overall community has given their concerns in regards to the Warzone style HUD that has been given to Zombies. Now, I think the big issue with this is that every iteration of Zombies up to this point, for the most part, has had its own individual HUD that stayed exclusive to Zombies. You didn't see it present in Warzone, you didn't see it present in MP, and so it made the Zombies community feel like they had their own thing going with their HUD. But I do want to point out, and I'm going to throw some shade at some of the Zombies community, and you guys are going to laugh at me for this, but you guys are so passionate about the HUD, which I don't think is the most important element to the experience, but it took 9 years for a majority of you, or some of you, I guess not a majority, some of you to realize that in the Black Ops 3 HUD where the ammo shows is a light bulb. I don't know how somebody missed that. I wasn't even a diehard Zombies person during Black Ops 3. I did a lot more MP, but I can tell you for sure that I always knew that was a light bulb. So I don't know how important the HUD really is to the community when they don't realize things like that, but I do know that they have this sense of feeling that they're just kind of getting skipped over because it's a Warzone or multiplayer HUD kind of getting brought into the zombies experience. So they just want something that feels more exclusive to their mode, and I don't disagree with that. However, I will say that I don't find the HUD to be super important to the overall experience. If the gameplay is good, if the maps are good, if I'm having a ton of fun, I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to the HUD, where things are laid out or anything like that. And over time, that's something I can adjust to even if I wasn't a huge fan. But in response to that, I did see a lot of posts saying, look, we complained about the HUD and now they're making adjustments to the HUD. Again, this is going to be another one of those things that I mentioned. We don't know what those changes are. We saw absolutely nothing in regards to these changes. These are just changes that we are being told through a podcast from people that aren't necessarily devs who work on the game. They're just kind of being the messenger, passing the message along. So we don't know for sure what these changes are, how deep it actually gets. Did they make HUD elements that feel more exclusive to zombies, or are they just giving us more options on where we can place the certain items on the screen? We don't know all of the presets that will be available on launch, but I do think it's going to still be pretty restrictive as far as where we can put what on the screen and what options we have available. But hopefully the few changes that they make will give us some options that will make people a little bit happier. Although I just don't really see us getting an exclusive zombies HUD, even with changes being announced. At the end of the day, the real reason that I'm actually mentioning any of this in today's video is because I saw so many people change pace from complaining about certain elements of the game to finding out that there might be some changes about those elements that they complained about, to completely turning to the other side, being extremely excited about the game, acting like we've gotten everything that we wanted, that we've been heard, and they're going to be doing everything that we expect. I just don't think that's a realistic expectation. Now, for me personally, no matter what changes are made between what we saw at Call of Duty Next and launch, it does not make or break my experience because, again, I don't care that much about the HUD. I don't think it's that much of an important element to the experience. As long as the gameplay is good, as long as every other element of this could be good, storyline, Easter egg, you name it. As long as all that stuff is good, the HUD is the least of my concern. Now, when it comes to the environment of the map, I believe in Treyarch and what they do, and I know that they're passionate about the game that they make. I mean, they were even sort of passionate about some of the games that they didn't even have to be fully on board with, aka Vanguard is obviously a terrible experience, but I still think they tried to make the best of it. And then MW3 Zombies, I know not everybody loves it, but I personally really enjoyed their time with it, and I enjoyed what they brought to the table, being that it was an off Treyarch gear. So I think when it comes to the experiences that they offer, they are passionate, they want to try different things, and I don't think that that's always a bad thing. So I think when it comes to the expectations we should have, we should hold ourselves into a realistic mindset, right? Make sure that you understand that maybe not every single thing that you mentioned is actually going to come true. We don't know what HUD elements are being introduced, so we don't know if they heard us about the HUD. I do think it's safe to say that they hear and try to take in and absorb as much of the feedback as they can, but they also have data on top of it that they kind of work with coinciding, because the vocal minority is, again, the minority. We're the people that are vocal. We usually make up the least amount of the community that does exist, and there's tons of people playing the game that aren't using their voice. So I think they use a balance between feedback and obviously the data that they have in order to try to make a middle ground to make the experience better for everybody. So what I'm trying to get at is, no matter what changes they make, I'm going to be happy with the game because I'm not holding myself to an unreal expectation. But I do think there is a lot of you out there that might be saying, you know what, they've heard us, they're listening to us, and if everything doesn't fall in line to all those things you have in your mind, when launch does come, you're going to act like they didn't listen whatsoever. So I do think it's a little unrealistic to say that they heard everything that we said, they're doing everything that we asked for, and they're completely listening to the community, because despite the fact that I do believe that they will listen to the community, they do absorb the feedback, I don't think they make all and every decision that they have over at the studio based on that. And I also don't know, leading up to Call of Duty Next, what things they already had plans. Maybe there was already more HUD options available. Maybe they're just adding a couple presets. Again, we don't know the details. And until we know the details, I think it's very dangerous to get overly excited about something, overly gas something that you might be upset about in the future. I think it's better to go in kind of neutral, have a less chance of being disappointed, being extremely overgassed, extremely over-exaggerating the changes that might be coming, and then coming out disappointed in the end. At the end of the day, I think no matter what person you are in the zombies community, all you really want is to kill zombies and have a good experience for everyone to enjoy, and that's exactly what I'm hoping happens with Black Ops 6. That is going to wrap things up for us here. Let me know down in the comment section below how you guys feel about the changes that could be coming to Black Ops 6 Zombies, and what they might entail. Otherwise, thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all the support in the channel, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace!